lesson time. Lesson time is here again. Here we go. Module 6, lesson 3. What are we doing? Boom. That's what we're doing. Whoa, that's a lot. No, it's not. We're going to represent mixed numbers. Remember, mixed numbers, we have a whole number and a fraction, right? Okay. But wait, we're doing decimals. We'll get there. With units of tens, ones, and tenths. So we're not going out to hundredths. We're not going up to hundreds, just tens, ones, and tenths. We'll use that with place value discs. That's how we'll represent those mixed numbers. We'll also do it on the number line and, importantly, in expanded form. So let's do that. All right. So warming up here, write the decimal or fraction. So say this fraction, it is, yes, 1/10. All right. How would we write that as a decimal? 0.1, although we'd say 1/10. So remember that distinction between how we say it and how we write it. What's that fraction? 2/10, good. As a decimal, 0.2. 2/10 equals 2/10. Fraction, 7/10, and we'd write that as 0.7. We'd say 7/10, though, reading it as a math number. I must emphasize that. Fraction, 9/10, great, and that's right, 0.9. 9/10 equals 9/10. Oh, now we're doing it in reverse again. So we have the decimal 0.3, which we'd read as 3/10. So as a fraction, we'd write also 3/10. Amazing. Here we have the decimal 0.4, which we'd read as 4/10, a 4 in the tenths place. So as a fraction, we'd write it as 4/10. Great. And now we have the decimal 0.8, right? 8/10 is what we'd say. So as a fraction, it's 8/10. Sorry, I can't make this any easier. All right, here we have the decimal 6/10, a 6 in the tenths place. So as a fraction, we'd write 6/10. Great. There's an interesting fraction. We did do this one yesterday, do you recall? That's 10/10. What would that be as a decimal? 1.0 is what we'd write. And we could say 10/10 because, again, look, there's the number 10. Ignore the decimal point for a moment. There's number 10, which ends in the tenths place. So it's 10/10, which, of course, is equal to 1. Beauteous. Let's count by tenths. Ready? We're going to start from 0/10. 0/10, 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and 10/10, which equals 1. And now let's do it again in a decimal form. 0/10 is still what we'd say there. I know it's weird, but 0/10, then 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and 10/10, also known as 1. Nice job. Go have a donut. No, just kidding. Or if you want. All right. So now we're going to skip count by 5/10. Here we go. We're starting from 0/10, going to 5/10, 10/10, 15/10. Now we're into improper fraction land, right? 20/10, 25/10, 30/10, 35/10, 40/10, 45/10, 50/10. Okay, now you probably noticed here and remembering from fraction land that when we have things like 10/10 and 20/10 and even 0/10, those have whole number equivalents. So let's do it that way, see? We're going to skip count by 5/10, but say the whole numbers. So we'll start with 0, 5/10, 1, 15/10, 2, 25/10, 3, 35/10, 4, 45/10, 5. That's kind of weird, isn't it? Whoa, combobulate the brain there. But do you see, of course, yeah, that 30/10 equals 3. And just to relate this to money, a tenth of a dollar is a dime. If you have no dimes, you got no money. If you have 10 dimes, you have $1. If you have 20 dimes, you have $2. If you have 30 dimes, you have $3. 40 dimes is $4. 50 dimes would be $5. Lucky you with your $5. Ed! Ed has a hankering for some fish. Go for it, Ed. He bought 4 pieces of salmon. Say it with me. Salmon. It has a silent L. English is the funkiest language ever, sorry. But it's salmon, and you can look up the etymology of that and why we don't pronounce the L. It's actually kind of interesting. But Ed bought 4 pieces of salmon weighing a total of 2 kilograms. There's a decent amount of fish there. And he's either in a fish frenzy or he's got a big family. 1 piece weighed 4/10 kilogram, and 2 of the pieces weighed 5/10 kilogram each. What was the weight of the 4th piece of salmon? Okay, so let's draw this bad boy out. So we have a total here, right? A total, the 2 kilograms. So our tape is going to be, the whole thing is 2 kilograms. And then we have 4 pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 4 partitions within that tape. We know that first one is 4/10 kilogram, and then 2 are 5/10 kilogram each, which leaves us with W for weight, trying to find the 4th piece of salmon. You can probably see, what do we need to do? Yeah, we need to put these together. That's right, and this ends up becoming a straightforward part of the whole subtraction question, right? So we need to put together these 3 pieces first, 4 and 5 and 5. Okay, so that's 14/10. We could also look at it and say, hey, these make 1, don't they? 5/10 and 5/10 is 10/10, which is 1 with the 4/10. So we end up with 1 and 4/10. Or if you did 14/10, you would then take out the 10/10 at that point. Either way works. And now we're going to take the 2 kilograms, the whole weight of all the fishes, fish, and subtract the 3 that we know to find the unknown one. And I'm not going to go through all the logic of how to do this because we already did this back in fraction land. So we end up, well, here, I'll give you a little bit. The 2 we decompose as 1 whole and 10/10, and then 10/10 minus 4/10 leaves 6/10, and of course 1 minus 1 is 0. So we end up with 6/10 is the difference there. And then you need yourself a cute little statement saying, oh, the weight is 6/10 kilogram. The 4th piece of salmon weighed 6/10 kilogram. Solved! Ed can now start cooking. All right, while Ed cooks that, we are going to make groups of 10/10 to rename as ones and write the number in decimal form. Well, what does that mean? Let's look at it. So, here we go. 1 whole I can decompose as 10/10. And here again, 1 whole decomposed to 10/10, and then just hanging out here randomly I have another 1/10. Okay, so questions. How many tenths, the 0.1, how many tenths do we have here? Well, 10, 20, and 1 more makes 21. So have they been grouped in tens? Everything with decimals is all about the powers of 10. So there's 10. There's 10. They've been grouped in 10. What is the whole decimal number? Well, we have 1 whole, another 1 whole, and then 1/10 down there. So it's 2 and 1/10. Excellent. How many more tenths would we need to get to the next whole number? So from 2 and 1/10, what's the next whole number? 3, and that's a difference of how many tenths? Very good. Hopefully you see that it's 9/10. Now, hopping right on here. Let me go back for a quick second. So we're done with this, the 10/10 renamed as 1. Okay, so we had 21/10 and renamed them as ones, wrote the number in decimal form, which is 2 and 1/10. All right, so now we'll move on. All right, so now we're going to do mixed numbers with tens, ones, and tenths in expanded form. Don't overthink this. What is the value of this disk? It says it right there. Say that number. 10. Okay, good. All right. What's the value of these disks? Well, 10, 20, 30, 40. How would we write this as a multiplication sentence? Well, we have 10 4 times here, right? So we'd say 4 times 10 is 40. Great. What we just did was we took 40 and put it in expanded form. 4 times 10. Boom. Beauteous. Okay, so what's the total value now? Well, we added in A 1 disc and a 1 disc. A 1 disc and a 1 disc make a 2 disc, right? So how do we write that out as multiplication here for the 2, adding it together with this in expanded form? Well, we first take what we started with. Okay, so we have 42 now. So it's 4 times 10. We already did that, right? And how many ones? How many times do you see 1 here? You see 1 2 times. So 2 times 1. And just as a matter of doing it all the same way and how it's conventionally done, I always put the place value second. So I would not write this as 10 times 4 and 1 times 2, just so we're all doing it the same way, we don't get confused. So I always put the place value second. So I'm always going to write 4 times 10 plus 2 times 1. And then we'll go further out, but we'll get there when we get there. All right. Whoa, here we are. We are there. What's the value now? Well, how many 1/10 do I have? You see 1/10 there. How many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, good. Okay, so same process. So there's the number now. Look, 42 and 6/10. 42 and 6/10. Beautiful, huh? So we already know how to write out that 40 in expanded form. We're going to start in the tens place. It's 4 times 10. Adding to that, we already know how to do the ones place, right? 2 times 1. And now the tenths. So we know a tenth is written as 0.1. How many do we have? 6 of them. So 6 times 1/10. And that's what it looks like. 6 times 0.1 is how we'd write it. Good? All right? Beautiful. All right. What would we have to change here to write this in fractional form? Well, over with the 42 and 6/10, we just write that as a mixed number. 42 and 6/10. And then this is all going to stay the same, right? These are whole numbers, so there's nothing to change here with all these numbers because they're whole numbers. There's no fractional form. But here it's 1/10, so would you write that as a fraction as? Can you dig it? 1/10. So that's indeed is what it would look like. Mixed number, 42 and 6/10. And the only other thing that changes here in fractional form is the 1/10 decimal is written as 1/10 fraction. Yeah, how's that? All right, let's do some more. This is called decimal expanded form, although I've seen it also written as expanded decimal form, so same thing, but more commonly decimal expanded form. And how about this one? You're quick. Fraction expanded form. All right. So now we're going to do something similar, but with a number line. Mixed numbers, ones and tenths, leaving the tens place out of it for the moment. All right. So, woo, look at that. It's a number line. Where are we going to put 4 and 1/10? Well, obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, and then one more little line would be 4 and 1/10. Boom, there it is. The red dot meets the red dot. Hello, Dad. I'm bouncing on your belly. Oh, sorry. Go back. How would we write that as a decimal? Oh, you already saw it. Okay, all right. 4 and 1/10. 4.1 is what we'd write. How do we write that as a mixed number? In other words, as a fraction form. 4 and 1/10. See, so what we say in decimal is what we write in fraction as well. How do we write this now in expanded decimal form? Well, we have a 4 in the ones place and a 1 in the tenths place. So 4 times 1, the place it's in, and then the 1 here times, what place is it in? Tenths. So 4 times 1, 1 times 1/10, that's what it would look like. 4 and 1/10 equals 4 times 1 plus 1 times 1/10. Woo! How about expanded fraction form now? It's going to be the same as before, right? Same thing. Only difference is this 4 and 1/10 will be written as 4 and 1/10. Yes, I know I'm saying the same thing twice. That's how it works. 4 and 1/10, we'd write in fraction form as 4 and 1/10. 1/10 here, we'd write as 1/10 in fraction form. So it looks like this. 4 and 1/10 equals, the 4 times 1 stays the same, they're whole numbers, plus 1 times 1/10 in fraction form. Can you dig it? Yes, you can. All right. How much more do we need to get to the next whole number? Well, we could see it's 5 here. If you really wanted to, you could go boing, 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 boing along the number line and count, but you know what's the difference. How many more tenths do we need from 4 and 1/10 to get to essentially 4 and 10 tenths? Right, we need 9/10 more. Now, we're going to do the same with another number. We're going to place 3 8/10 on the number line, write it in decimal and fraction form, decimal and fraction expanded form, and then figure out how much more to make the next whole number. Okay, so I know that's a lot to do, so you want to pause the video here and do all that, and then unpause it, and we'll go over it together. Okay, so go ahead and pause now. Yeah, I knew you weren't going to. You just want to do it together. Okay, here we go. Or maybe you did. Here's all that we're looking for here. Here's 3 8/10 on the number line. In a decimal form, 3 8/10, which is 3 in the ones place and an 8 in the tenths place. Same thing here as a mixed number. 3 8/10, which is a 3 in the ones place and 8 in the 1/10 place, so to speak. And we would need how much more to get to 4? Well, you can actually hop along your happy little number line here. Humber line. 1 2/10 more to get to the 4. Beautiful. You got it. And then you are looking at your happy doodly little problem set. You see you're doing the same thing here. Writing it as ones and tenths. So in other words, with this one, here's 10/10. You would condense that into 1. Here's 10/10. You'd condense that into 1, and the 8/10 here you would just basically copy the same as 8/10. The point is 10/10 is 1, 10/10 is 1, and then another 8/10. And don't forget the question, how much more is needed to get to 3? Same thing here, similar here, except that now you're going to bust it out into expanded form, both as fraction and decimal. And note, again, when you look at here in this example that they do for you, the only difference is going to be this is a mixed number and this is a decimal number. This is a fraction 1/10, this is a decimal 1/10. So you'll do that for the rest of the examples like that. This chart, you're going to be seeing several of these, and I believe it appears on the end of module assessment and all, so learn to love it. So you just fill in the blanks here, like this first one you're given 3 9/10. Write it as a decimal, put it into expanded form, and they give you the choice of fraction or decimal. With my class, I make them do both. But I guess you get to choose because you're doing it here. Lucky you. And then put the dot on the number line for 3 9/10. Now in this one, notice, all they give you is the dot on the number line. Notice between 17 and 18, so it's going to be 17 and so many tenths. What you write is a decimal, fraction, expanded form, and then of course here, and then you need to know how much more to get from that 17 and however many tenths to the next whole number, which is 18. Here they give it to you in expanded form, fraction, so I would write the mixed number first, decimal from there, and note then on the number line, and on this first number line as well, you have to put in the whole numbers. For example, 3 9/10 up here is between what and what? Between 3 and 4, okay? And so you have to do that with this one, this one, this one. You have to label the ends of the number line. So there's a lot to do on this one. So be patient, take your time. If you get done with B and you're like, I can't take anymore, do what I do, like this, watch. That's right, I'm going for a walk. Going for a little walk. Go look out the window, make some tea, and then come back and get back to work, because that helps you. All right, and then the exit ticket is pretty much the same thing. So I'm not going to just abbreviated version. And then for the homework, of course, you want to head over to my homework time video for this lesson. And that concludes Module 6, Lesson 3. I hope you had at least half as much, I hope you had 5/10 as much fun as I had, because I love doing this. All right, and I'll see you next time. It is once again lesson time.